What's up guys, welcome to Munchkins Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Munchkins logging in to bring you another Exos Heroes video, and in today's video is going to be on my first impressions on FC Shell. Now FC Shell is going to be coming out after the update, so I won't be covering the update on this video. I may cover it on another video, or I may not cover it at all, seeing that, as you know, a lot of people already covered these stuff, but I do want to still get my opinion out there regarding FC Shell. So we'll do it like we always do. We cover her abilities, her passives, her active skills, and then we can talk about PvP, offensive and defensive, and then PvE, and then my overall thoughts on the character. So let's take a look at what FC Shell is going to be bringing to the table. So she has Cleanse 3, which is basically cleanses the damage over time, damage effects and debuffs from ally. And then she gains 1 mana for doing so. She also gains additional mana if the health of the target is less than 20% and higher than 70% when this is triggered. Now her first passive ability is going to be Dimensions Leap. Now this is going to be a mark which increases the dodge for herself by 40 and increases her attack by 1000 when she is attacked. Dimensional Leap is a mark on herself and it is removed after a successful dodge. This has a stacking effect which can stack up to 4 times. So this is a great ability for, you know, survivability, like increasing her dodge and attack whenever she gets attacked, which means that she'll hit a little bit harder. Well, I mean, not just a little bit, she will hit a whole lot harder. And then once she finally dodges, you know, it gets removed. So the chances for you to getting 4 stacks is actually pretty low, but nonetheless, this is a pretty good passive ability to have. It has both offensive and defensive capabilities. Now let's talk about Night Carnival. This is going to be an overtime effect which increases the critical hit of all allies by 100%. I think a very good passive ability. It's like having FC Annie on everyone basically. So this is a very good passive ability to have. Next is Puppet Show, which is another mark which afflicts a charmed enemy with the Puppet Show mark. This is going to be a debuff. If an enemy is marked with Puppet Show dies, it will reduce the block of all enemies by 25%, and which can stack up to 4 times. Now, looking at this, basically, this doesn't have a turn, turn limit. So once this happens, I think this is going to be sticking because it is still technically a mark. So it is a debuff. It can be cleansed, but it doesn't show a timer on it. There's no time limit. So I'm thinking this is gonna stay unless it gets cleansed. Which is going to be pretty powerful in my opinion. I mean, block, it's a funny little stat in Exos. Like, you know, it's like dodge. You don't know when you're gonna get it, and I don't think we have some sort of calculation how high a block you need in order to get the percentage of block, you know, whatever, right? So I think that with this stacking up to 4 times, it's gonna be pretty powerful. Now the one thing I need to note here is the enemy does need to be charmed for this to work, and charm is Janai's thing, so you will need Janai for this one. I don't think there's anyone else that actually has charm apart from Janai. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but the one that stands out to me in my head is just gonna be FC Janai. Okay, let's move on to her first active ability, which is Last Chapter. This will deal a 120% damage to all enemies, and it will have a debuff effect just like her first, just like her normal skill, I believe. No, I'm thinking of something else. Oh yes, it's actually her second skill that does this. So they flipped it and made this her first active ability instead of her second one. So basically, she will decrease the attack of all enemies afflicted with charm by 50% when the attack hits. This does have another special effect, so this is a new. If any of the targets are already charmed, it will remove the barrier from all charmed targets and afflict nullify barrier for 10 turns, which means they cannot have a barrier. This is mainly directed to First Guardian characters, and honestly speaking, I can't believe we're still trying to like find a way to destroy First Guardians. Can we just take a moment and, you know, look how strong First Guardian characters are? I mean, they're still in the meta in some shape, way, or form. Next is Hallucinate, basically reducing the hit by 30 for 4 turns by afflicting the target with the Hallucinate mark if the target is once again charmed. So you need charm. Her skill 2, or active skill 2, is called Curtain Call. Now this will increase the attack of one ally except the caster by 25% of her own attack for 7 turns. This will remove all the status effects from the target, and they will gain the mana, 3 mana out of this one as well as giving them a status effect immunity for 1 time, and then resetting that target's turn. This can only be done once per round. So this is a pretty good supportive skill. Let's be honest here, I'm just gonna say it. They are trying to get FC Iris out of the rotation for everyone. So basically, they're looking for a new character to replace FC Iris. That's just what it looks like to me. Because FC Emma was gonna do the same thing, like probably sort of try and replace FC Iris, but FC Iris is still so much better than FC Emma. Like I said in my previous video, FC Emma was supposed to be like an alternative for Team 2, and now you got FC Shell, which sort of does the same little things that FC Iris does. I'm gonna leave it to my final verdict later in this video of what I think of the character, because I think let's go through her PvP stuff first. So, offensive PvP. Thinking about this, her speed isn't too bad. Some people might think she's actually pretty slow. She's actually, her speed here, I got the game open on the my other monitor. Her speed is sitting at 74 and Iris is sitting at 76. So she's slightly lower than Iris. So, but that doesn't mean she's slow. She's actually not too bad. In terms of speed when it comes to like the healer side, you know. So I think she's not bad at all when it comes to speed. Some people kind of remember her for being slow, but I don't think she's that slow. And if I compare her to Seoa is like 35, man. That's really slow. Ramsey is 74, or Ramji. So that's the same speed as Shell. Let's take a look at other ones. Talia is sitting at 33. Anastasia is sitting at 32. So she's not that bad. So offensively speaking, you can either activate skill 1 or skill 2 straight away. So skill 1 is basically going to be able for you to remove barriers, so more of a debuff for the enemies. As long as they're charmed, this is gonna work great. But I think if you can reset someone's turn, I think that's a very good ability to have. And they gain 3 mana. So if you really think about it, if she can do this, she can basically get Rera another go. Your FC Rera, which is everyone's strongest DPS, can have another go. So, and she can use her ability to, offensively speaking, right? If you have her, you have FC Annie, and maybe even FC Iris in the same team. I mean, that sounds really broken to me, right? If she can get FC Rara another go, another skill 2, another burst, dang, that's strong. And if you think about it, FC Iris, that's what I want to say, can gain mana for everyone as well. And we all know FC Iris is going to go first because FC Shell is a little bit slower. So Rara will have a burst effect for another turn. You don't necessarily need FC Janai with FC Shell. But, I gotta say this, but she really, really works well or better with FC Janai because of her kit. Like, I don't mind losing out on Puppet Show. That's fine because block is block. Active 1 ability, I can live without this as well, without all that thing, if I have FC Iris on my team as well, right? Because I think FC Iris is still the better one because FC Iris can actually remove everyone's barrier just like that. Once it activates, it's gone thanks to FC Iris. It only happens once per round, but it happens, right? So at least I think it does, right? On top of my head. She just incinerates it. You don't need to spend mana. You don't need to use an active skill to actually destroy someone's barrier with FC Iris. Now, the great thing about this is obviously the nullify barrier. That means they can't do it for 10 turns. That's fine. But she can actually work well even without FC Janai. But like I said, she will work way better with FC Janai because of her skills. It just depends on how you want to play her, right? If you just want her to be a more support type of character, you don't need the charm. You only will have to use active 2. Like I said, I already gave you the example. If you have FC Annie, FC Iris, FC Shell, and FC Rara, basically Rara will go first. She will use her burst, or you will use your burst, because we're still talking about offensive here, right? You'll use her burst, and then the next turn, FC Iris. I mean, I've only got 4 characters, but you can have a 5th one if you want. You can add a tank, like someone that can probably provoke, would probably be the best. So both FC Iris and FC Shell will survive. So maybe Tantalo or something like that. So let's just go with that. Let's go with Tantalo. So FC Iris gets a turn next. She will gain everyone mana. And then the next turn, you've got FC Shell going up. And then she uses Curtain Call. FC Rara gets another turn. She gets another burst. You know, sorry, I actually forgot. Maybe not FC Tantal. Maybe you use Battery, right? Battery, since Battery can make you survive much better with her passive ability, right? So there's definitely a burst window for this one. Unfortunately, if the enemy survives that, then you're probably gonna die, but it is something to think about. There's still other ways to use her, like with FC Janai. You can use her with FC Janai, and then I would say a lot of damage over time effects character, FC Tantalo, and you've got Dorka as well that can do that. You know, there's definitely a space for FC Shell for your offensive team. Now, let's talk about defensively. Defensively, you gotta have to use Janai. You gotta have Janai if you want to use her defensively, because she will always use active 1 ability first. You know, there's just no way the AI will just use active 2, her skill 2. So you're kind of stuck on an FC Janai team, because charm, it's gonna be great. It's still okay. It's still gonna be okay defensively, but you gotta have Janai. That's all I'm gonna say about defense, because there's really nothing else to talk about apart from having FC Genai in order for you to trigger all these debuffs, special effects, and hallucinate. And of course, Puppet Show is going to be great as well. Remember, she does have that critical hit as well, increased critical hit. So, like, the character, like FC Rara, will have like 200% critical rate, hit rate. As far as I remember, let me just double check on the other window. FC Annie grants 100% critical hit rate for one character, the fastest character. I'm just gonna double check that. No, she grants 300% critical hit rate for 2 turns and gains mana every round. So if you think about it, she has both FC Annie and FC Iris's job kind of mixed together, but in a much lower degree, right? So that means 400% critical hit rate for FC Rara. I cannot imagine that. That's gonna be pretty painful, especially if you're in the defensive and receiving that. Like I said, you know, defensive wise, I think there's really not much to talk about other than having FC Genai in your team. Survivability wise, I mean, like I said, Dimensions Leap is actually pretty good for survivability already, but you do want more. You want her to be able to use her active too. You want to go to the next round and be able to use Curtain Call, and hopefully your stronger character is still alive so they can do what they have to do for you to win that defense. Now, let's talk about PvE. PvE, I think there's really a space for her. Like I said, FC Iris is there, but she definitely has a space. She's competing for that space, so excuse me while I drink something. So I think there is definitely a space for her in PvE. She's a machine type, as far as I know. This is bad. I actually forgot what her type is. I'm pretty sure she's machine, and yes, she's machine. So definitely has space on your machine days, on dragons as well. I mean, you know, she increases her attack, right? I mean, in critical hit rate for all allies. That means you're gonna do more damage on the dragon. Very, very good. She can charm the, you know, do the debuff on the dragon. Lowering the dragon's attack by 50% is actually pretty good, but I don't think it will work because he needs to be charmed, right? I don't think the dragon gets charmed. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but on the dragon, I mean, having that skill, active skill 2, if she manages to get there, she's still very, very helpful. Story-wise, we have a lot of machine currently in the current chapters that are being released. You know, machine is one of the biggest factors. I mean, you know, armor, guardian armor, guardian stone, whatever you want to call it. So she definitely has a space there, and she damages all enemies as well, which is really great. But that's really about it. Like, PvE, honestly, I feel is pretty stale in Exos. There's really not much to do in PvE apart from like your daily resource grinding stuff. The story is great, but once you're done with the story, it's like, that's it. There's a bit of challenge to the story, specifically like the latest released chapters. But other than that, I mean, I have to say there's really not much to talk about. Infinity Core, I guess she'll do well there as well. But that's really about it in PvE. I don't really think there's anything else. There's definitely space for her. If there's space for Emma in PvE, there's definitely space for FC Shell. So that's all I have to say about that. Okay, so let's talk about my overall thoughts on FC Shell. FC Shell is going to be, like I said multiple times, competing for FC Iris's space. Now, granted, you can use them both together. It's not like it's bad. You do get the reset thing like I talk about with her skill 2, and FC Iris will provide that mana that she needs in order to provide another mana to someone else, and therefore having a higher burst damage. That's the biggest thing, right? She's competing for that space, but at the same time she can still work well with FC Iris. Now mind you, I would like to have a tank there as well, but it's you're going to be very much on the defensive formation, like, because you need Bathory as well. I really like Bathory still. Bathory is still needed to be there. You can probably remove FC Annie if you really want to in order for Bathory to be a replacement there. Obviously there's so much different combinations that you can do, and I can't wait to actually figure out what the best way to use FC Shell. Obviously I'm gonna try it with Janai first because I think she has a much better synergy with FC Janai. So yeah, she's competing for space. Now I kind of regret pulling for FC Emma, but at the same time I was lucky with FC Emma. I know I said, you know, she was a good alternative for FC Iris, and I would like to actually use her. I managed to get her in less than 5 pulls, I think it was, or 4 pulls. 4 or 5 pulls if I remember correctly. So I was lucky enough not to go for pity for her. I was willing to go to pity for FC Emma, but now I'm lucky that I didn't, because FC Shell is definitely way above and beyond from if you compare them together against FC Emma. Emma still has a place in my opinion. I still like the decrease of defense depending on her HP and stuff like that, but FC Shell just is generally better. Is just generally, like, overall a much better character. She can remove barriers if you need her to, as long as you have FC Janai. You know, which is, I think, the much bigger deal rather than the increased defense from Dragon Blood, because Signature Force exists. Like, you can get past that Dragon Blood defense, right? Thanks to Signature Force. So, overall, I think she's gonna be worth your zest. She is a gold fate core, so she does have more value, right? And I gotta say, I can't wait to try her out in different teams. I'm gonna play around and see if I can get her awakened. I was planning to awaken FC Emma beforehand, but now I probably will remove all the red armors on my FC Emma and probably equip it to FC Shell if I do get the chance. Otherwise, yeah, that will be it for this video, guys. Please do once again remember to click like and subscribe if you haven't already, because it does help this channel, and I really appreciate all the support that you guys give me. I'm trying to get to 3,000 subscribers by the end of the year. It's not looking that great, but I still wish we can get there a little bit closer. If you can help me get to that, I would really appreciate it. If I do miss some things, I do apologize. I'm only human. I don't remember every single thing. So if you think I missed something, you leave it down in the comments below. And you can also let me know what you think of FC Shell. Are you going to be pulling for her, or are you going to be holding back and waiting for the rest? We do have an idea who, well, actually we already know who the other Fate Cores will be alongside with FC Shell. I may, like I said, I may or may not cover the entirety of the update. I'm not really sure at this point, but I just want to get this video out there because I do think a lot more people are more interested in finding out what the new characters are and what people think of them, or what content creators think of these characters. So that is it. This is Munchkins logging off. Oh, before I forget, make sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter at Munchkins Gaming. This is Munchkins logging off. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next level.